Hey, Ed from Precision Gun Reviews here, and today we're taking a look at something a little bit different on the table. This may look like your standard centerfire combat handgun, but in actuality, this Walther PPQ M2 is chambered in .22 long rifle and is more of a training tool or a backyard plinker than anything else. Being the same size and roughly the same weight as its older brothers chambered in centerfire cartridges, this is a great training tool, and this hammer-fired blowback design will cost you a lot less to practice with. It is still 7.1 inches long and 5.3 inches tall with a width of 1.3 inches, just like the M2 4-inch barrel would be in a centerfire cartridge. And it weighs 4 ounces less at 20.8 ounces. What it matches exactly are the ergonomics of the centerfire pistol. The PPQ M2 has some of the best grip texturing, these front finger ridges, and a rear contour of the grip that fits right into your hand and nestles snugly into your palm for one of the most ergonomic and comfortable grips of all pistols on the market today. Ranks right up there with those CZ pattern pistols. One thing I love is how the grip narrows between your thumb and your trigger finger, letting you really wrap your fingers around the gun and get a good reach on this trigger, which is another excellent part of the gun that we'll get to later. Let's take a look at this texture that, while not as rough as a lot of the other polymer guns, and it won't dig into your hands because of that, it still maintains a high level of security in your hand due to the way this stippling is designed, and it's still comfortable. And while we're looking closely at this side of the grip, you can take a look at this very large and easily accessible magazine release, which is interchangeable left and right, and onto the trigger, which is one of the PPQ's claims to fame aside from being incredibly ergonomic. The gun does have a large squared off trigger guard for those of you who either shoot with gloves and need to get that gloved finger in there, or those of you who want to put your finger on the front of the trigger guard. And it has this Picatinny rail on the front for any accessories you may want to add to the gun. It does have plastic sights. There's a front dot and the rear is just black, and that makes for a good sight picture. It's not the best in the world, but I find it very functional, and here we could take a look at it. The top of the slide has this anti-glare track running down the center between the sights, and the slide serrations, both front and rear, give you an excellent purchase on this incredibly easy to rack aluminum slide. Being a .22 long rifle chambered weapon, there's only so much force to recoil that slide, so the lightweight aluminum is what you get on the M222. And speaking of its construction, maybe we should take a look at the internals and show you some of the real differences of the M222 versus its centerfire brothers. It breaks down a little differently. It is a blowback design and has an internal hammer, but it's very easy. Pop these two tabs down, and then you just pull the slide back a little bit and then tilt it up and slide it forward. Comes right off with the guide rod and recoil spring, and you see there the blowback design with the barrel affixed to the frame. And there you have it. That's a fully field stripped PPQ M222. Here you see the internal hammer. There is no striker despite the design of the PPQ M2 in centerfire. You can see that this hammer does come up. If you pull the trigger, I'll show you the hammer in its forward position as it strikes the firing pin, and there it is in the rearward cocked position. The recoil spring is of course very light for the .22 long rifle cartridge, and this plastic guide rod that it runs along is very interesting, and it seats very nicely and neatly below the barrel in a notch, and it's really very easy to put it back together. The slide is interesting in that it is aluminum and there's not much going on inside of here. It has this channel for the firing pin, and that's really about it. The weight of this slide is very little, being that it's aluminum and being that there's so little going on inside here. But it's important to note that there is a bead of steel here by the slide stop area that Walther has added to improve the longevity of this slide in the high friction, high impact area of the slide. So that is a bit of steel that will give your PPQ M2 in 22 a little bit longer life, and that's good to see and good to know because you don't always see that on these types of pistols. Let's go ahead and reassemble the gun. Slide the slide back on, grabbing this recoil spring as you go. You feed the barrel right through the front of the slide and pull it back and down onto the frame, where you can then let it ride forward into place and pop the tabs back up. Rack the slide and you're good to go. It's a standard 12-round magazine. It has this thumb tab so you can pull the follower down as you load the 12 rounds of 22 long rifle. And it is very easy to load, and these magazines are pretty good quality. The magazines sit flush in the grip, and they do fire out at speed when you activate the mag release. And I haven't experienced many of the problems that a lot of 22 long rifle magazines will often give you in terms of feeding and various malfunctions. These are good quality mags, and the gun is a good quality gun. The slide does lock back on an empty magazine, of course, giving you much the same manual of arms as the centerfire gun. And it is a really good trainer, and it's a really good gun. I look forward to the times that I can take this PPQ M222 out there on the range, because it's really just a lot of fun to shoot, especially when I know that I'm paying a fraction of the price per round to practice. If I had a PPQ M2 in 9mm, this would be heaven, but even when you're transitioning from this to any other striker-fired semi-automatic, it's really a good trainer, because it operates much the same way as all of those guns. Walther states that the trigger pull on this gun is about 4.85 pounds with a 1/6 of an inch trigger travel, and it does have the safe action safety, the passive safety blade in the center of the trigger. The trigger does feel very light, and it doesn't feel like there's any slop in there, and there's not much take up and not much over travel, and it's nice and crisp, and it feels great. It just feels great to shoot. And just like the other controls, I mentioned the mag release and also this oversized slide stop, which acts as a slide release and sends the slide home very easily when you activate it. It's easy to reach and easy to use, and it is just a really sleek looking pistol. It has that premium look. It easily passes as the centerfire version at first glance. It feels great in the hand, as I said multiple times, and it's very reliable, which is also a big deal because 22 is known to be finicky, and this Walther PPQ M222 is incredibly reliable with most 22 ammo, which really is a gold star for the gun. As far as accuracy is concerned, for a combat-styled 22, it is very accurate. I wouldn't call it a hunter model. It's not a 7-inch bull barrel, but they do make the 4.6 and the 5-inch for a little bit longer sight radius and greater accuracy. I do think it is the best of the 22 combat-style pistols. Its MSRP is $429, but you can find it for $325 to $350 with extra mags costing about $25. And I would almost call this a must-own for anyone who owns a combat-style centerfire 9mm or 40 or 45 who wants to practice with the cheaper 22 long rifle ammo. It doesn't matter if it's a Walther, if it's anything, if it's a striker fire, if it's a hammer fire. This is just a great alternative for the manual of arms that you're going to be operating with in your main defense handgun. So I recommend it wholeheartedly and say you should go grab one if you could find it. It is one of my favorite handguns that I own, not only for training purposes, but just for the joy of getting on the range and shooting at targets plinking on steel. Yeah, that's the PPQ M2 in 22 long rifle, and it gets a thumbs up from us. This is Ed from PGR, Precision Gun Reviews. Thanks for watching. If you like our videos, please do give us a thumbs up and subscribe to get all of our new videos as they come out. Thanks for watching, and until next time, as always, stay safe.